And joining us is Faisal El Khatib from EV Law Group.
How you doing, Kelly? Thank you for having us.
Thank you. So you're here to talk to us a little bit about the foreclosure process.
So yeah, I one of the things that we wanted to talk about, or I'd like to talk about, is what about foreclosure itself, and I'm sure it's very scary for a lot of people. They're running into some trouble. They missing some payments, or things are a little bit tight, and
allegedly
missing payments. Or a lot of times we've seen a lot of people who come in through the door and kind of reach out for help where they really haven't missed payments and the bank has raised their escrows or things have changed in their payment structure that suddenly they can't afford a payment that was once affordable can no longer be affordable because the payments have changed. And people think that that could be because the interest rate went up or there was an interest rate range. Sometimes it's actually even because your real estate taxes have gone up, and so you have to adjust for that. So it's there's a couple reasons why a person would get into trouble and have an issue with their mortgage, and then a lot of people get really scared and they think, oh my God, this is the end of the world. Well, there's a lot of options available for people who've run into these financial problems. One of them, the first move that everybody wants to do is they want to go for a loan modification. And so a loan modification is when you ask the bank, based on your financial circumstances and your hardship, to lower your mortgage payment to a payment that you can actually afford. And sometimes they can do this, and most of the time, the banks really aren't interested in giving you a loan modification. And they put you through a lot of headaches and a lot of problems. They ask for a tremendous amount of paperwork.
Which they lose.
And then after you send them all the paperwork, and it's like a 100-page fax that they want via fax, then they get the paperwork, and then they'll lose half of it, and they'll ask you to send more. They'll ask for bank statements. So it's a very long, drawn-out, and painful process. There are people out there who would say that that's intentional because they don't want to give loan modifications, because the banks really, when a loan gets into trouble, it's more profitable for the bank to actually foreclose on the property, contrary to public opinion or normal common sense. But it's more profitable for them to foreclose than to give a new payment plan to the borrower. So people really don't understand that. But there are options available that go with that. So the other option, additional loan modification, would be a short sale. And a short sale is when you offer to sell the property publicly on the market for less than what you actually owe.
If I do that, can the bank come back and try to collect the difference from me?
They can. Anytime, this is very important. Whenever there's a short sale, the purpose of the short sale is to get you out from under the problem. So if you hire a professional to help you, a real estate agent or an attorney to assist you with that, the idea is to sell the property and it's done and you no longer have an issue with it. If the bank comes back and asks for more money or tells you that you're still going to owe the difference, that's not a good deal. You don't really want to accept that short sale offer. So the idea of the short sale is that you don't owe money after you've sold the property. So if a real estate agent or the lawyer that's representing you on this or the bank comes back and says you owe more money, bad idea. So I wouldn't recommend taking that deal.
And that lawyer needs to be able to know how to write the deal up properly, which includes some very important information that I'm just going to put out here. I think people should just write it down. They have to be able to have something in writing that says there's not going to be any deficiency or additional money owed. And the lawyer has to know how to draft that language so that it says it survives the merger of deed and does not merge. Now, that shouldn't make any sense to anybody who's listening. If it does, get help.
Barely makes sense to me, Kelly.
Yeah, even if you're an attorney, get help if that makes sense to you. You've been doing it too long. But that's important information. Maybe if you just write it down by rote and take it to an attorney to ask them to make sure it's included so you're protected.
Very much so. The other piece of the short sale, in addition to short sales, you have also deeds in lieu, which is where you negotiate with a bank to say, look, I don't have anybody who wants to buy this, but I want to give you the property in exchange for what I owe for it. And it should, even though it's not an equal exchange because the value of your property may be very low and much less than what you actually owe on the mortgage, but the deed in lieu is where you exchange the property for the deed, essentially, and you shouldn't owe anything after that going forward. Now, the one thing that I really want to emphasize that's extremely important in all of these solutions is while these problems are happening, whether you're negotiating a loan mod or doing the short sale or your deed in lieu, there is a court process that's taking place. Now, it's important to be a part of that court process. It's even more important not to be a part of that process by yourself, because the judge that's there, with respect to the judges, the attorneys that are there for the bank, they're not there to exercise and protect your rights. They're there to protect their own rights, or in the case of the judge, he's there just to present whoever is in front of him with the information they're presenting. And if you don't know how to present that properly to the bank or to the court, you could lose your house, and you lose a lot of rights that you have much early on. Additionally, and many times the banks will do what we do, dual track. So while they're negotiating with you on the short sale or on the loan modification, they're accelerating and working the foreclosure process in the court process very quickly. And the point of that is they'll distract you with the loan modification here, but on this side they're actually going super fast in the court process.
Always go to court unless you have a lawyer who's going to court. And on top of that, you're sure that that lawyer is an honest attorney who is going to show up in court and represent your interests.
It's very important to find a lawyer who really understands this area of law. There's a lot of attorneys that say they do foreclosure defense, and they're actually really bankruptcy lawyers. Or there's lawyers who used to do real estate closings, and now they decided they want to start doing foreclosures. You really want to find someone who is a litigator or who focuses a majority or a large part of their business on foreclosures, because this really is a very complex area of law.
And litigator rhymes with gator for a reason.
Yes, it does. It does. You want someone who's very aggressive on your behalf.
Right. And I think a point that you might want to make is that some of the self-help services and nonprofit services, while very well intentioned,
definitely want to talk about that. There's a lot, and I've seen it in court many a times, where the judge will say you need a lawyer. Go to the help desk, for example, in Cook County they've got a help desk. They've got most of the counties have a help desk that gives assistance to homeowners. But you want to be very wary of those. You really want to talk to a lawyer. Not that they have good intentions and they really do want to help, but again, they're not properly qualified or trained in the defenses that you have available for you to protect you from a foreclosure judgment being entered against you.
And they don't have time.
They don't have time.
In
a 15 minutes or 20 minutes they sit down and talk to you is nowhere near the amount of time that you need to truly understand all the defenses of your case. I mean, when we meet with clients, we do at least a 1 hour initial consultation just to talk to the client, just to understand where the client is at. And there's things to figure out where they're at procedurally in the court case, where is their issue with the taxes, because as I mentioned earlier, sometimes your payment is so high not because your bank has raised the rates, but because your taxes went up and the values are wrong with the assessor's office. And that requires a special, unique approach to that. So really looking at the problem that you're falling into, this financial difficulty, is not a one-size-fits-all. There's really a lot of moving parts to this, and you need someone who can help you kind of tread through those waters.
Absolutely. And I think of the solutions you talked about, a valuable solution that usually takes a lawyer to do effectively is a consent foreclosure judgment.
That consent foreclosure, that's actually a great one, Kelly.
The other side, you offer them to consent to a foreclosure judgment against you, so you do get the judgment, but by law, the bank cannot collect any more money or pursue you for a deficiency.
So one of the things to be aware of is if you happen to go through the foreclosure process and they get a judgment against you, and then they go through a sale where they sell the property, many times the banks will actually try to go after you for what we call a deficiency. So, for example, they'll sell it at auction for a certain amount, which is less than what you owe, and they'll come after you for the difference. So, a consent foreclosure allows you to give back the property in the foreclosure process without owing any money afterwards.
So, you've heard a lot of options today. You've heard from two good attorneys who know what they're doing. You've heard some cautions. We didn't say any names, but there are some people out there who'll take a lot of money up front. You'll call to see what happened at your court date, and they won't have a clear answer for you. And when we finally investigate it, we'll find out that's because they didn't go.
Exactly.
They never filed anything in your case, or what they filed put you in a worse shape. So there are some options of people to reach out to, and be sure and use those options. Again, I'm Kelly Dudley. With me today was Faisal El-Khatib. What would your last thoughts be in our final 15 seconds?
The last thing I'd want to say is beware of bankruptcy. That may not be the option and the solution for you. So if everything else, really explore all your options, and I wish you the best of luck.